up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access. Thank you all for watching. As always, make sure to hit that subscribe button down there. Of course, it's free. Spread the word. Keep Unique Access growing so we can keep bringing you guys all these great interviews. And, of course, be sure to share and like our content as well. We got a lot of great things coming up. And today we have the honor and privilege of being joined by a legend from the Soul Brothers, man. Thank you very much for coming through, sir.
Yes, sir. I've been waiting for this moment, Soren. What's happening, man?
Man, I'm glad you were able to make it through, man. It's been obviously admiring your work through everything from afar for so long. So I'm glad we actually get to chop it up and get it out there for people to better understand and appreciate what you and the Soul Brothers brought to the game, and still the legacy remains.
Let's go.
So first of all, the thing that I remember the most was figuring out and understanding who you guys were from Bust a Move. But let's go way before that. So are all three of you guys, and you should break down who everybody is, but did all three of you guys grow up in LA, born and raised?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I didn't meet them till my senior year in high school, but they all grew up in LA.
Okay. And that's V-Love?
V-Love, Craig E, and myself, Legendary.
Right. And then what made you guys bond so well, do you think?
Well, they were dancing previously during something called the Trendy Era. That was right after Uncle Jam's. And it was these promotions called Ultra Wave, Jam City, and they would hold these dance contests. And so that's where they were honing their skills at early from that time, like Oscos, clubs like that. So from there, the music started to transition. And then, hip hop came in. And then we kind of broke it down to the three. So all the groups back in LA back then were like 7, 6 deep. So we came down. First of all, we broke it down to 4. And the fourth member, people don't know, is the MC Defari. He was a Soul Brother. So we was the 4. Like if we would have stayed the 4, I doubt if we would have ever danced for Def Jeff, but we would have did it more like the Lockers, because it was more of us to fill the whole stage. And we had different styles, different body types, and it would have been more presentable with the 4. So he went away to college to Berkeley and then left the 3. And then that was it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then from what you guys, that I know of you guys, it seemed like you always gravitated more to the East Coast music than the harder gangster-y stuff coming out of LA. Is that accurate? If so, why or why not?
Well, really, it was like what was out there because, Bismarcky and KRS was kind of like rocking before N.W.A even came out. So like the golden era was Salt-N-Pepa and those type of videos, the bright colors, everybody was happy. So we had to go with, what that time was.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. And of course, back at that era, a lot of the groups either had dancers or the artists could dance themselves and supplemented or enhanced or were part of the dance routines. So being in LA and being removed from that scene, how did you guys help develop a different style with your boogie style that was going on out here?
Okay, what we did was after I graduated from high school, my grandmother blessed me with some money to a trip to New York.
Oh.
And all the dancers used to hang out at this guy, Cliff Love. He used to dance with Houdini. He used to always hang out at his house. And that's where I met Scoob and Scrap. And Scoob was like, listen, man, your best bet is to get with a rapper and try to, do something good and go on tour. So when we came back to LA, there wasn't that many options. We had King T, really didn't need dancers. Maybe who else was out? Can't remember. So yeah, so it was like Def Jeff was like the best going. He's from the East Coast. He had that East Coast cadence, you know what I'm saying, that went with our combination. So that was like the best opportunity we had to branch out on the West Coast.
Okay. And then this is, that's still though before Defari would have gone to college though, right?
No, that was right after.
Right after?
Right after. We met Jeff right after Defari left.
Okay, so what was the conversation like, and how did you guys stay in touch a lot? Did you not stay in touch? What was going on?
With who, Defari?
Yeah.
Now, he already made that commitment to school early, you know, so that was his journey. And it was like, you know, it was no hard feelings or anything like that. But like I said, he went on, like I said, it worked out for him. We started MCing, you know, stay on an independent flow. So it did good for him. But I'm telling you, man, when it came to dancing, like for me, for my money, 200 times better dancer than he was at MC. And his MCing is cool. But dancing, the dude was wicked. Very wicked. Yes, sir.
That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of Defari, as he knows. So shout out Defari.
That's right. That's my man.
So then, how did you end up getting in Bust a Move video? Was that Def Jeff or was that something else?
Through Def Jeff, our first show with Def Jeff, we performed for the Ross Brothers. And from that day on, they just fell in love with us. So anything Delicious Vinyl orientated, it was us. So anything they did, you know, we were gonna get first crack at it. So Young MC was first up to the plate. We jumped in, and man, it was crazy because we always dreamed of dancing for, like, you know, Rakim or Biz Markie. But we got that video, man, they play that video every single day, all day. And it just like, you know, we couldn't complain.
No, I remember. I remember seeing it. Well, congratulations for that. But as you guys were growing and developing and then leading up to that video, how had you guys assumed different roles in the crew? Like, what was everybody's role?
Man, it kind of happened organically because, like I said, they were already a group already before I got in. I was the last one to get in. Like, Defari was second to last, and I was last. So as the music changed and everybody kind of like had their role. So my role was, like I say, we were already established doing things. So my role, I brought a mentality in through my football knowledge and brought that to dance. And you know what I'm saying? And like I said, meeting the East Coast dancers, finding out what the business aspect of it was. And then, like I said, Craig brought in, you know, strict hardcore mentality, choreography. V-Love he's the heart and soul of the group, you know what I'm saying? The caring one. And he just brought, you know, just a vicious style. Like him and Scoob was like my favorite dancers for like years.
So back to Scoob, because I was going to get to that. How did you guys, or how did you on this trip, and shout out to your grandma, but how did you meet up? Like, how did that happen?
Oh, 333 Lafayette. That was a place where all the best dancers met up at Cliff Love House. And we would get there in the living room right there. You know, Cliff was came from a single mom. So, you know, we moved the furniture back, just dance right there in the living room. Okay. Like everybody came, like, you know, from everybody's the best of the best. The Houdini dancers, the EPMD dancers, like Fendi, like the Stretches, like I said, the Scoob and Scraps, we all there sparring, you know, putting it in and just getting better.
And that's interesting because I think with dance, a lot of people have seen the business of rap get so big, and a little bit in a different ways, the business of DJing gets so big, but the business of dance element of hip hop, I don't think we've seen get that big since the early break-ins type of movies. But how was that response, or what was your reaction when Scoob was talking to you about the business of dancing? Was that surprising to you? What did you think? So
man, because like I said, it was like graduating from high school and going to adulthood. It felt like I was just a grown man move. You know, like I said, it wasn't like when you meet your alike or meet somebody equal to you, it's not about the battle, you know what I'm saying, per se, when it normally is. So just connecting, like I said, and liking each other and wanting to see each other grow. Like, that's why I said we've been dedicated. Everybody always wanted to see us battle. Like, even for years, it's like folklore. But we never could because we were like bonded from day one. Right. So like I said, given that knowledge, it was just like, okay, like that's you know, it was more than just get in a circle and dance, and it just, you know, it's time to take it across country.
And then when you guys were in New York, did you get to see Kane perform while you were there?
Yeah, I met Kane. If you even go to my one of my pages, you can see an old picture of him when he still stayed with his parents. You know, he had a hole in his shirt. You know, I had on some old funny Bob Hope shorts. I mean, this was the early days. So it was like, yeah, that was a pivotal, like going to his house that day. That's what really opened us up culturally, because I can't remember what it was. Like Kane had a book or something on his desk and it caught my attention. And then it was like from that moment on, that's when we started getting knowledge of self. And then our dancing really took on a whole different light, because now we were doing it for some type of purpose now. It wasn't just getting out there and just, you know, getting the best move off.
So what did that purpose become?
Dancing, like, as far as we know, like movement and energies, like taking it more back to African tribes. Those dancing and movements, you know, heal certain people. Like certain things make people feel good. You know what I'm saying? So when it was time for war, they did, you know, that little run and chant they getting. So all those things started to come into our lives. Like when we did that big show when Mandela came here, like meeting his dancers, you know, meeting him, and they looking at us and telling us, yo, you guys are the ones, like, it's time for you guys to get out there and do something with it. We was like, wow. Like, you know, we had a lot of similarities. So like I said, it started becoming different meanings. We would go to Philly and see that whole movement when the mayor had bombed the city. And then we were like the first cats that walked through. We were walking through looking for a battle. We were trying to battle Fresh Prince's dancer, Omar, and ended up there, you know, at this house where, you know, that was burnt down. And so we was like, okay, we got a different purpose. So yeah, that's pretty much been it. Like
all right, well, we're going a little out of order, but with
yeah, definitely.
Meet Mandela, explain how and why that happened.
So they had Mandela Kane, and they had all these rappers that were hot at the time, from Tone Loc, D.O.C, which was the Mad Circle at the time, with DJ Aladdin, Ice-T, and they were just going to rap. So Ice-T always been behind us from day one. I mean, the love is just like, to this day, the love is there. So anyway, we were just supposed to go and dance for Jeff. And he was like, no, you guys are going to dance for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So on every hook, he would push us out there and just let us groove. So while we were doing that, or even at sound check, Mandela brought his African dancers, and now they're watching us. And then we just bonded, and they just was like, wow, what is that? It's so close to back home, but it's different. And that's when it's just this connection. Plus, that's what we learned too with Aladdin. He was the first DJ that DJ'd for our dancing. Like he knew when to pause, knew when to scratch, like he knew our moves, and it was like, it blew my mind because it was, you know, it wasn't rehearsed. So like I said, those little things like that saw that we, you know, we was doing different things.
Yeah, I will say I had the fortune of seeing Aladdin in person one time before I actually lived in LA, but one time when I was out here doing some work, it was at the famous Rap Olympics battle that Eminem came in second place at, but Aladdin DJ'd, he had a little showcase or something there. And I'll never forget, I'd never seen anyone before him or since him do this, but he was mixing and scratching, and he like jumped over the turntables and didn't miss a beat. It was like he had the same routine in air and turned around and landed and had the same thing going. I've never seen that before him, after, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I'd always loved Low Profile, and I love what he did with Ice-T later on as a producer, of course, but his DJing skills, obviously on Low Profile and the other stuff he did with Rhyme Syndicate, Aladdin is like so phenomenal, man. He's
definitely
super talented. So I'm glad that he was one of the ones that understood you guys so much. So that being said, why at this point the rappers would dance, and I think Def Jeff also doesn't get, you know, obviously he wasn't on your guys' level as a dancer, but he could get down too, I saw.
Yeah. You know, he was trying to do a few little combinations here and there.
So what difference did you notice with Def Jeff and even before, like with the Kanes or the Heavy D's or the Salt-N-Pepas that would dance with as part of the routine or whatever, versus the rappers that didn't? How did they connect live differently with the audience, do you think?
Well, at that time, it was, like I said, the golden era. So having the best stage show at that time was very, very important. So if you were just a rapper and just stood in one spot, it was like, it was hard, going to be hard for you to go up against a Kane or Heavy D or Def Jef and the Soul Brothers, because just like I said, the energy and the stage show was so tight. Like I said, we were taking the mentality of, the Harlem Renaissance days and Central Avenue. We were bringing that mentality, to the stage. We was learning from Houdini. We were learning from the best. We were learning from KRS-One. We were learning from Houdini. So, like I said, unless you were really a hot rapper by yourself, it was rough for you. You needed the DJ, the dancers, and the MC at that time.
And I got a shout out. I didn't mention Kid and Play, of course. They had it too.
Oh, man. We're going to get with them later because they're doing something real big for us right now.
Oh, congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. So then back to Bust a Move now. So then when this video comes out, how did that change your guys' life and your trajectory?
Well, it helped because, like I said, once again, through our New York connections, we knew Fab Five, which in turn, we met Ted Demme, rest in peace. So he played he always cut a little snippet and made sure a little commercial, like my slide I did in Bust a Move, it played like every single day. So from there, it was like, that was their moment, like, okay, who are these guys? It was just enough. It was like that buzz started going. And like I said, it's like, people always say we don't have the internet and stuff, but back then, word of mouth was just as good. Because your name would float from here to Germany, in seconds. So Bust a Move really set it off, but the dropping rhymes on drums, that's when we arrived. Okay,
so that's Def Jef. Yeah. Give It Here, I guess I would say, was his first quote-unquote big single, but then when dropping rhymes on...
That's Sudan and Divine dancing in that.
Right. So when you guys came, or with dropping rhymes on drums, I should say, with that video, the Def Jef's got a little shine in there, but also you guys are all throughout the video and all, I guess, what are you on, a college campus, I guess?
Yeah, we're at USC.
Okay, cool. So the thing that I always liked about Def Jef, obviously he's very lyrical, but he also, dropping rhymes on drums is a good example, but he would sprinkle a lot of messages into everything else he was rapping about.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the power of that for you as far as just a music fan?
Well, like I said, especially at that time, it was also not only the golden era, but it was the pro-black rap era. So like I said, learning about yourself. It's like, just imagine like not knowing your history or something, like you were like 19 years old. So I learned about who I was as a black man at 19 years old. So it was like, so hearing, and Chuck D's music, like Kim Shabazz was my favorite. Kim Shabazz, Chuck D, Poor Righteous Teachers. So those, like I said, those lyrics, like they said, the power in the word, those lyrics give your moves meaning. You know what I'm saying? So if you notice, we were never the 1, 2, 3, 4 guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wouldn't really do well behind like somebody like Mariah Carey or something, like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, the basic. So if you notice, like those lyrics, the more powerful the lyrics are, the better our combinations were. So that's why you see our combinations are so constantly going, because those lyrics give the energy. That's why we started dancing to the lyrics in our career. People were like, what are they doing? We were dancing to the lyrics because we would feel them that much, would set the move off.
Okay. So then with dropping rhymes on drums, since you guys were with Def Jef at the time and you guys are all through the video, how was the response or reaction different from Bust a Move?
Because that was our arrival moment. That was just all, it was like, because before we had, other people, we had D Barnes, we had Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They were all, a cast of people were in Bust a Move. When it came to dropping rhymes, that was all Def Jef, Eric Bauer, and the Soul Brothers. So that's when our name just started ringing from there, Soren. It was just like, and the fashion, because we had the overalls with the one down, one up, you know, tie dye, whatever. Like I said, just to get into the culture. And like I said, those movements had just came to us like pretty much overnight. So that's what set it off right there.
Now, I remember, obviously I don't remember much about it, but I do remember you guys being on Pump It Up. Since you mentioned D Barnes, did you, how did it work with you guys, I guess, quote unquote, separate from Def Jeff around this time? Were you guys doing a lot of stuff outside of him? You were doing interviews outside of him, shows?
Definitely. Glad you said that. So like I said, with the dance movement, you know what I'm saying, it was also a dance movement happening. You know, people were just picking out, you know, different characters. So like I said, we were characters also. So Greg Campbell Jr. from the Lockers, rest in peace, he told us early, they used to hate that we danced for Def Jeff. They was like, bro, we're the Lockers. Like, we already set the tone for you to dance by yourself. You no longer have to be a line dancer. You don't have to be on solid gold or whatever the case may be. You don't have to be behind anybody. You know what I'm saying? Especially the stuff you guys are doing. Get out in front, right? So we always had that mentality of, like I said, about the four. We know how things are supposed to look. So anyway, we always kept that mentality. And so we always did stuff outside of Def Jeff. And then so Pump It Up did the dance special. And when we did that, that's when it went to the moon. So from there, we started doing shows in the Bay. We started doing shows San Diego, Texas, wherever dancing was really hot, that's where we did shows.
And then how, unfortunately, I didn't get to go to any of those, but how did those work? They just said Soul Brothers, or did you like?
Yeah, straight Soul Brothers. And like I said, now we're going to go get deep for you real quick, Soren. And I never tell these stories, and I always ask the Soul Brothers, how come we never tell these stories, right? Here you go. First one, exclusive for you. So we get a call. Like I said, we was going up north with Jeff. You know what I'm saying? This is early. Like young N.W.A and Tech was up there. Young Shock G, you know. I don't even think Money B was around yet, because the same director who did Drop It Rhymes also did Do What You Like. So we were all kind of like, you know, just vibing up there. Hammers, dancers. Like I said, it was like really hot in the Bay for a second. So we get a call, word of mouth, something some promoters want us to do. Rent a theater, like a movie theater or something like that. Straight Soul Brothers show, name on the marquee. Bam. Okay, no problem. It's hot up there. I think it was like Santa Rosa, one of those little towns. So packed show. So we get a call. Layla Steinberg was like, these two guys, man, really love you guys. They want to know if you can open up. I'm like, you know, who are they? And then to get on our good side, she was like, well, one of them's mom is a Panther, and the other one's grandfather is Cab Calloway. So we like, oh, it's on. I don't even need to hear who they are. I don't care what the song is. He knows Cab Calloway. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? They tell him to open up. So when we get there, the two guys is Tupac and Ray Love. We like, yo, Tupac and Ray Love's opening up for us, right? So it's like, but still we're not registering Tupac because we're so happy, our dance mentality. This guy is related to Cab Calloway. You know what I'm saying? We want to hear those stories. So we were drawn more to Ray Love, like Tupac sitting right next to us. So yeah, so that's how we met him. And then we gave him that confidence to go out there and do his dance thing with Digital Underground. And the rest is history after that.
Wow.
You know the story from there, but that prior to, anybody want to know, prior to Digital Underground, Tupac, that was us, kicking it, sleeping on the same floor, chilling. And it was so crazy, you know, so crazy, as far as relationship-wise. Once again, my grandmother, he was way closer to my grandmother than he was to me.
Really?
They were tight. They used to talk on the phone all the time.
And then yeah. What about Ray Love? What were those stories like, and what was he like back then?
Ray Love was cool, man. He was just, like I said, getting this spit on. You know the MC Ray Love, right? from the Bay. Yeah, he was just spitting, you know what I'm saying, telling us, like I said, a few Cab Calloway stories. So we always try to keep in touch with him over the years. But yeah, that was mainly the thing. Like I said, it was like a group of us. It was these guys called the Wild Boys. And they turned into a R&B group called Christian or something like that later in later years. Remember them?
They're on Rockefeller.
Exactly. So they used to give Hammer the blues in his early days. So before Let's Get It Started, that was the group that used to give Hammer the blues on the dance floor. So like I said, it was all connected and real fun because like I said, it was all young, innocent, you know what I'm saying? Like when everybody was first getting started.
I've referenced other things that I saw, you know, Bust a Move, dropping rhymes on drums, but the time when I really remember seeing you guys the most on shows was through Black to the Future with Def Jeff's single with In Living Color and Arsenio Hall, if I remember correctly. You guys did, were on there. So Black to the Future is probably, especially the remix, the video version, is my favorite Def Jeff song.
Wow.
And I always thought, because it's different from the album version, but I also thought sonically and what he was saying on there was just worked so well together. So since that one is much more politically minded than Bust a Move or Dropping Rhymes on Drums, and you guys were very into Afrocentric stuff at the time, and promoting it in your attire, in your dance, and all that other stuff, how did that resonate differently with people, or did it?
No, it didn't, man, Soren. It's like when you take that road, you hear so many things like, it's coming from even some brothers. They might be like, oh man, you know, you changed your name, or you start taking the, you know, them Black Power names, you can't get a job, people ain't gonna like you. And it's, man, it'd be the total opposite, man. It'd be long as you stay true. People don't like funny style or people that's faking it. You know what I'm saying? Those are the ones that they don't like. So when you true to the game and true what you about, man, they love it. Like I said, I used to trip out like my man Khalid Muhammad. They used to be like, he's the most dangerous man in the world. And you see him walking by himself with his suit on at Venice Beach. You be like, how dangerous could that be? You know what I'm saying? I know you used to see him, so I used to be out, you know, chilling with Ice Cube and just, you know, solo. So it was like, you know, it was like always there. Because I remember a dancer tried to use it against us. My main man, too, used to dance for Madonna. He had told the director, Tamara, I used to do all the delicious Bust a Move and stuff. He was like, man, don't hire the Soul Brothers. They don't like white people. And she looked, she said, what? Fool, they just left my house. Get out of here, clown. Yeah, we ended up getting the job and he didn't. So, yeah, so, man, it was always love. Like I said, as long as you were true about it, and they liked it because they was interested in your story.
Well, like you said, the Rosses, last time I checked, they're white too. They they use you quite often. So it's interesting too because Delicious Vinyl, I think, is one of the more underappreciated labels in rap history because on the one hand, they created a whole other lane for a lot of the West Coast rap that came later, which was the underground stuff, but then also kind of re-energizing Master Ace's career, introducing somebody like Def Jeff, having Body and Soul, and then later the Who Riders. I mean, and then Brand New Heavies, they just had so many great artists, Pharcyde, of course, but in addition to Tone Loc and Young MC that really showed on the quote-unquote pop side that LA had more than gangster rap, and then Delicious Vinyl really, you know, kept that going for a long time. So
definitely, man. Like those Ross brothers is something else, man. They just like, we were never signed to the label, you know what I'm saying? Like a Heavy D and the Boys would be. But like to this day, like I shoot my son's web series. Like if I need anything, like here, man, whatever you need, it's here. Like the love is just tremendous.
Yeah, they've got to shout them out too because they let me use Delicious Pizza when I put out my book, The History of Gangster Rap. I did a book signing there on my own, and then I did one with Bill Duke. So that was that was amazing because they were really supportive of me and always have been. But that was really awesome. But I just think Delicious Vinyl long before I met them or anybody affiliated with the label really. It's just amazing to see the records they put out and the magnitude of them. But with Def Jeff, he's another guy that I think gets overlooked a lot. So it's somebody that could rap, that could write, that could dance and do all these different things. What do you think made him so special as an artist?
Well, one, like I said, only reason why you probably don't even see him like doing the old school shows with us now is because Jeff was always producer first. You know, MC second, and I can't say that, but performers was his last love. He just did it for the love of the game. Like he likes rocking the mic. Like catch Jeff after the show when he's in the room with Tretch and Apache and all these cats that, you know, going around in a circle. That's when Jeff is really at his best. And rocking the crowd and rocking the stage. But like I said, his performing like was his, even though he did it well, that was his least passion right there. Like he loves producing more.
Gotcha. So then after, and then you guys, did you go as Soul Brothers when you would tour overseas, or was it part of Def Jeff, or both?
Both. We did one. I mean, no, we never went overseas with Jeff. We just did the States with Jeff. Then we started doing overseas. Like I said, especially when you go towns like Belgium, Germany, that's really into dance. Like, you know, they actually sit down and watch the show, like a theater. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So all that came from Soul Brothers. Like I said, that run you were saying, that run we went on, like the Arsenio, the Sajak, and Living Color. You know, Living Color, that was it. That was the one. That was the one that was able us to start doing stuff overseas and stuff.
So then were you guys doing this all yourself? Did you have a manager? Like, what was happening?
No, sometimes it'd be word of mouth or somebody that knew somebody, like say for instance, when we did Pump It Up, right? Just so happened, Keenan and Damon was watching the show. And they asked Rosie Perez, do you know those guys? And she was like, yeah, I know them. And she hooked us up and bam. That was right. And it was so dope, but because I don't want people to know, like, when people like, you know, I just saw like Usher just beat up The Weeknd over a track or something like that. So Rosie this was before I got with the Soul Brothers when I said they were 7 deep. She took bits and pieces of one of their classic routines and slowed it down, which became my prerogative. And I didn't know till years later I was editing it, Soren. I was like, wait a minute, I know that routine. So, but she had slowed it down, right? But she was so cool. So when she came, and like every dancer that she bit from for Living Color, she came back and blessed each one of us separately with something. Like, here, I took a couple of your moves, but bam, this should be all right. So that Living Color, you know, that was, man, we owe her money now. And recently in her book, she gave us like mad shout out in her book, like about, you know, like 4 or 5 times.
Man, that's big.
Man.
That's real big. So then after Def Jeff was like, you know, getting more into producing and doing less rapping, what were your guys' next major steps?
Oh, choreography, the Bell Bib DeBow.
Okay.
DVD, Thought It Was Me. So like I said, from our connections, when we, like I said, all, you know, dance, especially LA, you know, get your little run on Soul Train. So from there, we meet Lusky from Soul Train. Like, you know, most people know him with the black suits and the black glasses. So we meet him when he was, you know, always affiliated with New Edition. So he connected us and was like, yeah, man, I heard your boys doing these moves. And we just started hanging out with those dudes. And, you know, they took their New Edition suits off and we were just vibing every day until they got it right. We were just giving them that same mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wasn't working on no songs or anything like that. It was just the mentality of the stage show. What it took, you know, to be hip hop. And they took it all the way, Soren. I'm about not just hanging out with us and staying in some dance studio. No, these dudes came to the club with us, got in a circle, and even looking for fools to battle. So just imagine, you know, Ricky Bell and them out battling in a circle. Like, I mean, they were serious too. I was like, wow. Like, yeah, we turned them into real junkyard dogs.
Well, that's the thing that impressed me about you guys in the sense that not only the different eras, but the different genres and the different types of artists that you guys have collaborated with or been in videos with. So, given that you guys have granted a specific style, but when it's evolved, I would argue also, how you found that it's been able to kind of translate into R&B, into pop, into, you know, harder rap.
Well, long as the music is good, you can move to it. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you know, you're going to get a couple of things out there that, you know, you might just do for the check, but pretty much if the music has a groove to it, it's going to translate. And like the music dictates what type of move you're going to deliver. That's why I know maybe some OGs now from my era that still teach class. A lot of them may still be, just for instance, doing the WAP or the Running Man. We're trying to do it to this new age music. It's not like you can't do it, but the music's not dictating that. So you're actually making yourself work more. Like, you know what I'm saying? You find yourself working to whereas you do the WAP to a Houdini record, it's flowing. It's like, you know, if you try to do it to some trap or something like that, it's like you feel yourself working and it looks, you know, it doesn't look right.
Yeah, it's natural.
Yeah, so like I said, so what we would come up with for BBD, we wouldn't necessarily then come up with that for New Kids on the Block.
Right.
The music dictates the moves. And
Okay.
if, like I said, if the song is really bad, this is a key thing. Like in Bust a Move, a lot of times we weren't dancing to Bust a Move. We were dancing to a song saying beats per minute that we liked, maybe about 45 King or something, to really get our moves. Like I said, especially if we didn't like the song too much. So we would do that, cheat and do that sometimes.
And how did you develop that skill?
By practicing, we was like maybe rehearsing on some stuff. Like maybe I think we was doing this group 5 Star. Remember 5 Star from England?
Okay.
And yeah, so you figure like, man, I need to put some OC or something on right now. You know what I'm saying? Like saying, like I said, try to go with the same beats per minute, and then at least get the foundation, and then you add the movement to their song.
Okay. And then how and what was the first choreography job, and why did you feel that that was a good evolution of what you guys were doing? Was it
My first one was Laquan, the B turn.
Oh,
No, matter of fact, no, it wasn't. It was Ronnie DeVoe's brothers, the Throwdown Twins.
Okay.
We did their video first. They had a little single deal with Motown, Greg Mack's compilation.
Oh, wow.
And there, we were all hanging, like I said, just hanging out, and Laquan would come through. And he was like, oh, bam. So we did him second. And while we're doing him, same at Moorlander Studio in the Valley. So while we're doing him, you know, here comes BBD. But we were already planning on doing them from the New Edition Heartbreak Tour. They already had plans. They just didn't know exactly what they were going to do at that time.
Okay. Well, Papa LQ is interesting because Laquan,
yes,
because of his very different output musically.
Mm-hmm.
So, given that was, I guess, early in his career, did you see the different sides of him at the time?
Definitely, because I fell in love with his father. His father was like the coldest dude I've ever seen, Soren. Like, you know, you hear about, you know, preachers and stuff robbing the churches. Man, I went to this dude's church and his father was giving out money.
Wow.
Like, yeah, they was like, take an envelope out the thing. They was passing the thing. Everybody take an envelope out. And I was like, man, I was a fan ever since. So from there, just like I said, that the love, and by having a father, because most of us didn't have fathers, that was like really our bond. So I watched him, you know, go from that to Papa LQ to, you know, Kenny Kingpin. I've been with him on this whole journey. I still support him.
Oh. So then what, as time progressed, did you end up getting more, or what was the different, I guess, satisfaction that you got out of choreography that may be similar or different to actually dancing yourself?
The only thing better with that, it was just like that, maybe a bigger check or just seeing, you know, your work being executed. You know, that's the only really satisfaction because I like hitting the stage more. But like seeing somebody like, especially like I said, BBD, seeing like, you know, what do I do now after New Edition and turn it into that, man, you know, that was like, you know, beautiful to watch. Beautiful to watch.
And
So
then,
that's the best satisfaction from that.
okay. And then what are you working on now?
Right now, I'm in post production. I'm do editing, things like that. So this is basically how the dance game works. And like I said, I didn't write the rules, just from all the dancers from the tap dance era to the lockers, all of them that before us. So everybody has a great heyday in their 20s, right? Then you do little certain things over the years. And then, like I said, so you can follow this timeline. So from maybe 30 to 50, that's a dead period. But you got to stay ready because you never know when you're going to get that call, right? So as you see, the movie, let's take the movie Tap, for instance. When Gregory Hines came out with that movie, those guys were 60 years old. What was the best part of the movie, Soren?
The dancing.
Exactly. Now, from that point on, those guys are doing everything from 60 to 90 years old. So, say Jimmy Slide, Bunny Briggs, they start going on tour with Savion Glover. Sandman did the Apollo. Then he was on Cosby Show yelling challenge. So all those things, like I said, because it takes one person like yourself. Hey, what happened to the Soul Brothers? What happened to Scoob and Scrap? Then you start telling your yesteryear story, which is now. Then at 60, you start getting, you know, maybe little awards and things like that. Maybe get to go to Kennedy Center or something like that. They give you a little dance award or something like that. And then the rest is history. So as we say, we're in our generation, we're in the fourth quarter now. So now is our yesteryear story. And like I said, Campbell, he just got his street sign on Crenshaw.
Oh, wow.
Don Campbell, you know, Crenshaw and Stocker. Like I said, so that's his last accolade. So now next is probably Poppin' Pete and Mr. Wiggles and all of them. Then our generation. So like I said, in 10 years, like I said, we start getting a little award and it's over. So that's how the dance game works. Street dance game works pretty much. But you got to get ready. Like I said, like now, when our Arsenio Hall show came back, I was at work at Sunset Gower, Soren. I get a call like 11 o'clock. Yo, Dougie Fresh in town. He wants Lusky and the Soul Brothers to do Arsenio, the new Arsenio Hall show come on. So I had to go across the street, you know, dance, you know what I'm saying? Probably ain't danced in like 4 years. I mean, not, you know, active on stage.
Right, right.
And then from there, Houdini and Yo-Yo just happened to see the Arsenio Hall show that night. And next thing you know, we're doing a sold-out show with Houdini and Big Daddy Kane at the House of Blues. Next thing you know, we're doing shows with Frankie Beverly and Midnight Star and Vogue, you know, just all of a sudden. So like I said, we work Monday through Thursday, and on Friday, Saturday, we might be hitting the road.
Well, like they say, man, work begets work, you know?
Yeah. But it's crazy, though, Soren. Like, they wait till we're 50 to where it's like full time now. The money's better, everything.
Well, congratulations, man. That's big.
Thanks,
You're talking about the fourth quarter. Obviously, football season is here. So
yes, sir.
We both love the Ravens. How and when did you fall in love with the Ravens and why you rock with them so hard?
Okay, well, being from LA, I never had a team. So I follow players. You know, whether it was prime time, anything that motivated my dancing. Always back to the dancing. Anything that motivated my dancing. So the way the Soul Brothers moved, because like I said, we didn't want to be the happy guys. We wanted to be like, not feared, but not to be messed with. So Jack Tatum was like the foundation of the three Soul Brothers. That was it, right? So as I'm getting into Jack Tatum and like studying the culture of the Raiders, I noticed they used to pick up guys like Otis Sistrunk off the street and give them a chance. This reminded me of the Soul Brothers, just, you know, just there, like, just, you know, doing what you got to do to make a name for yourself. So when the Ravens came about, then now, like I said, the dancing's that kind of fade now. Like this is like, what, 98, 99? Like the dance is over. It's all gangster rap, Mobb Deep. All that's coming in. All that's came in. So now my son's growing older. I'm getting into coaching. So I'm really getting into football. Pops up the Ravens. Ravens, like I said, we're known for every year having an undrafted player, a guy off the street, giving him a shot. You know what I'm saying? That sparked me. Like I said, the way, from Jack Tatum. So Ravens, same mentality. Like, the defense and the way they do things. Like, professional, like strong, as they represent strength. And I've been a Raven fan ever since.
And of course, until last year, they had with Ozzie Newsome, he was the first black general manager in football. So he was the highest ranking black man in football. But then beyond that, until we had owners really in the N.W.A. in particular, he was the highest ranking, I think, black man in sports as far as title and job, because he ran the football operations really for the Ravens for the first 23 years, I think 23 years of the Ravens. So he was the mastermind of all that greatness you're speaking of, which is a beautiful thing.
That's where, like I said, I follow players all my life. So, like, even then, I was a huge Ozzie Newsome, Brian Sipe fan. I liked them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they said it's unfortunate that you can't go in as a player and an executive because he's already in as a player to the Hall of Fame. So
yes. And Chip, this how I'll tell you, I got this jersey, right? Ran across, like every 10, 15 years, I go on one. For some reason, I'm only child, so I just might go on one and spend a few $100s at the card show. Like I said, every 20 years or something. So I'll link up with my boy. I'm about to go to the card show, and he sees my card collection. And he looks, he said, "Hey, man, I'll trade you a Ray Lewis jersey for that Greg Pruitt mint condition." I was like, bet. Even though I had like I said, us growing up, like the Greg Pruitt, Mike Pruitt, didn't really know too much about them, but everybody just knows, like, they thought they was brothers. The Pruitt brother, so, like, I had them side by side in my case. And so I gave it up, man. And like I said, it was worth it because, like I said, I didn't have another one to replace it. So I take the Ray Lewis jersey all day.
Yeah, man. I love Ray, man.
Yes.
Yes. So anyway, well, yeah, Legend, we appreciate you coming through here to Unique Access, man. And congratulations on everything you did for the game and continue to do for the game. We're excited to see what you got coming up. How can people find you to catch up with?
And definitely catching me on YouTube at Cuddy Mac TV. We have all the stories me and Soren was telling you today. We have all the hip-hop dance stories. Where I interviewed, Hammer's dancers, Big Daddy Kane's dancers, Houdini's dancers, like all the great ones come on our show. And we have some big ones lined up. So Cuddy Mac TV on regular social media. Just hit me at Soul Brother Legendary on everything else.
Well, there it is, man.
And look out for my books. I got books out as you see in the back. Check out my book, Moral Dilemma, by legendary Ali Shabazz, and you'll see the rest of my catalog on there as well. And Stay Out the Way Clothing, my son's line.
All right. Well, thanks for coming through again, man, to Unique Access.
Indeed. I'm going to see you at the championship.
Let's hope.
Raven Nation.
Yes.